some of you understand what you're about to get into. In 3 of my videos, I have mentioned a certain teacher of mine, a certain mentally unstable, vindictive teacher. Given that one of those videos has over 7 million views at the moment, people are getting a little curious about this infamous educator from my past.
Right.
Well, gird thy loins, explainers and entertainers. Because we're finally talking about it. Here we go. This is the story of my emotionally abusive high school theater teacher. Now, because it is theater, I know I run the risk of sounding like a crybaby, whining over their teacher, not giving them the lead part in the play, and trust me, I completely understand people like that exist. I've been in theater a long time. But I'd like to think that this story has more to do with me being in an unhealthy authority figure relationship. I'm not a martyr here. I guarantee others have had it far worse, but this woman did her damage. We'll call her Medusa, and fun fact number 1, that was her actual nickname, and she wore it like a freaking badge of honor. No joke, she put up a sign on the backstage door that said, "Keep out, beware Medusa." Boy, that should have been a warning in more ways than one. Okay, so I met Medusa my first year of high school. She was the only teacher running the entire theater department, so no matter what type of theater class you took, she would be teaching it. She also ran the theater club and directed all the after-school plays. All casting decisions were left up to her. You're catching my drift. She had a totalitarian grip on every aspect of this theater department. There was no other adult there to balance her out or, more importantly, witness her behavior. Now, for some context about who I was back then. In high school, I was remarkably shy, socially awkward, a goody two-shoes, a nervous wreck, and I didn't really have any friends, even in the theater club. I was a doormat, to put it bluntly, but when I stepped onto a stage, I was a completely different person. I could be strong and brave, confident and clever. I could show the world what I was made of. Performing was my release, my therapy. I guess that's why I didn't immediately take a powder when I learned how crazy this theater was. Holding out for that one big part, that one chance to show everyone what I could do. And pleasing this woman was the key to what I wanted. Yeah, that won't lead to anything bad, I'm sure. So what made Medusa so awful, I hear you asking? Well, for one, she was incredibly unpredictable. You never knew what kind of mood she was gonna be in or what was gonna set her off. The joke she laughed at yesterday would offend her the next day. One day she's kind and supportive, the next day she's catty and vindictive. And because of her volatile nature, it was a gamble anytime you needed to ask her a question or ask for help. Sometimes she'd be decent enough, and then sometimes she'd blow up in your face for wasting her time with a dumb question. Ask someone else. It would take me a stupid amount of time just to work up the courage to ask her a question before chickening out and finding a different way around my problem. Though I think one of the most frustrating things about Medusa was her favoritism. Plain and simple, if you weren't one of her favorites, there was a very low chance of you getting a big part in a play. Or sometimes a part at all. I'm not saying she was shallow. No, that's exactly what I'm saying, because all of her favorites had 2 things in common. They were pretty, and they were popular. 2 skills your girl rolled a 0 on. Medusa also protected her favorites to an infuriating degree. One of them was a big bully of mine, and Medusa did absolutely nothing to stop it even after I begged her to step in. I was talking to my mom about this script, and she told me that she once confronted Medusa about this bully at an after-school play, and Medusa was more concerned about him getting in trouble than what he was doing to me.
Are you serious?
Ooh, that is a very brave thing to say to a protective mother. Correction, that is a very brave thing to say to my mother. So yeah, if you weren't one of her favorites, you were stuck in the chorus, as they say. Hey Becca,
I could play
maybe
a
you were
banging
just
tree
an
though. I know this is
awful
like a
actor.
side note.
I mean, fair point. Maybe I just wasn't any good. Thing is, Medusa always gave me A's for my performances in the theater classes during the normal school days. Medusa even once rushed up to the stage after a dark, dramatic scene to give me a hug because she was so moved by my performance. So, you see, I got mixed signals from this woman all the time. I didn't know what to think. Dang it, do you hate me or not? And this cat and mouse stringing me along emotional manipulation was what kept me hopeful. I'd think to myself, if I don't complain, if I do my best, if I do every little thing she asks of me, maybe one day she will throw me a bone. Maybe one day I will gain her favor and be given a good part in a play.
Maybe if I submit myself to them
you hear that?
in a weird way.
That's not good. That is not a healthy mindset to be in. That is an unhealthy relationship to have with anyone. But that was the story for me for 3 years of high school.
3 years?
However, when senior year came, something happened. And let me just set this up for you. Once when I was a freshman, I asked Medusa why she didn't give me a part in the latest play, and she told me, "Seniors take precedence in casting because they're graduating." And I thought, okay, well, I guess that makes sense. When I'm a senior, I'll be a priority. Come senior year, pretty much all of her favorites had graduated, and the only 2 senior actors left were me and this one other guy. In fact, a very large portion of the club had either graduated or left, so pickings were pretty slim that year for willing participants.
Yeah,
Anyways, we were going to do the comedic play Noises Off. And in that show, there is a role called Dottie, meant for an older woman who needed a Cockney accent and had a boy-toy love interest.
There's no one on drama.
So naturally, being the oldest girl in the theater department, having a plump, middle-aged looking body, being able to do a pretty great Cockney accent, and being a senior meant that the stars were finally aligning in my favor.
Finally gonna get
The
that
day
part,
before
boys.
the audition,
We
I was
finally
hanging
got-
out in the
we
theater
made it,
club
Mom.
room, and I told another student that I was hoping for the part of Dottie, and Medusa overheard. She looked right at me, smiled, nodded very obviously, and gave me a big thumbs up. Gee, Becca, it sounds like your chances of getting this part are pretty good. I know, right?
There's
That's
no
what
way,
I
right?
thought too. But gosh golly darn it, call me M. Night Shyamalan because this story has a twist. I went to the audition, gave it everything I had, knocked it out of the park, was the only girl who could do a Cockney accent. But the next morning, Medusa posted the cast on the bulletin board, and nothing.
Are you?
She didn't even cast me.
What? She's not even in the play, like, itself?
The math ain't mathin'.
Bro just toyed with
Excuse
our
me,
emotions.
Medusa. I was wondering, why didn't you cast me? Oh, it's because you were too tall.
What?
Excuse me?
Too tall?
Nah, that is the greatest cap I've ever heard in my life. There's no way.
And I needed your love interest to be taller than you.
So because of...
Funny thing about
For
that
what
excuse,
reason?
she had cast the only senior as my love interest, and he was, in fact, taller than me. So yeah, she flat out lied to my face. But
What does
because
it
I think
matter,
I was
though?
in shock, I didn't
Why
question
would it
it at
matter
that
that she's-
moment, and I just walked away. Turns out the
Bro,
truth
I can't
eventually
stand
came
this.
out
I'm not
because a
gonna
couple
lie.
days later, some concerned tech
Now
theater
I'm getting
girls
heated.
told me they heard Medusa say something in passing conversation with the other students.
What?
The reason I didn't cast Becca is because she's not one of the group. She keeps to herself way too much and doesn't have any friends.
Damn.
Whoa!
What?
Whoa!
Bro.
Whoa!
She
hold
didn't
it! Hold
cast
it!
me
That's way too
because
far to
I
become a
wasn't
teacher. Like,
popular.
okay, that is way far from being a teacher.
It's time to
like,
scrap.
how could you do that to someone?
Yep, no.
It's just like,
It's time to scrap.
let them
We gotta go. Let's find her.
stupid.
Oh,
That is actually
she's losing it.
stupid.
Guys, she's losing. Oh.
That's it! I am done! I am out! Goodbye! I am over this insanity! You ain't dragging me down with you, sister! Peace, adios, sayonara, das vidanya, bonsoir, and all those other different languages. Consider this my final bow because we are done here! Thanks for the memories.
She said
You'll
because
make a
you
great
are
YouTube
socially
video
awkward.
someday.
But
Bye-bye.
you can act.
And
Nah.
I left.
Gotta give it to her.
I left and went straight to my advisor to drop out of all of Medusa's classes, which my advisor was very happy to do for me when she learned which teacher I was trying to escape. Oh yeah, she's crazy. Consider it done.
So you gotta
I'll be
get away
honest, the
from her.
situation was a little bit more complicated than just not being given the part I wanted. There was so much more. But this video is long enough already. And let me tell you something, explainers and entertainers. The moment I left, I felt like a completely different person. My confidence
feel
shot through
different.
the roof, I was happier, I didn't care so much what people thought anymore. Heck, even guys were paying more attention to me. My choir director noticed the change and gave me the award for Most Improved Senior. I didn't even have to
Okay,
give up
okay.
my love of theater because I went out and auditioned for community theater with adults. I even got a leading part in a musical that summer and won the Best Actress award for the show season at that particular
Oh,
theater.
that's nice.
Everything had fallen
So
into
just
place
the
for
teacher,
me,
that was
and
the
all
problem.
because
Okay, fair
I
enough.
finally worked up the courage to say I deserve
she probably
better
couldn't be something in her
and
own
walk
life,
away
such
from a
as doing
toxic
other people's.
relationship.
That's
These
my
situations
prediction.
don't always end
But then
like
again,
fairy
I don't know
tales,
other
but
people, and
for
it's not
me,
my right
it
to
did.
judge them, I guess.
So, what happened to Medusa? A couple years after I graduated, I remember hearing the news that she had been forced to resign. I can't be 100% sure if this is the true story, so take what I'm about to say with a grain of salt, but this
Okay.
was the story I was told. Medusa got incredibly intoxicated on an overnight competition trip with students,
Okay.
locked herself in the boys' hotel room, and passed out on the bed, forcing the boys to sleep in the girls' room.
Yeah, she gotta go.
Yeah. I mean, knowing her, that completely makes sense. When I first heard, I
Honestly,
wasn't
pretty bad.
surprised in the slightest. I guess all I can say is, peace out, Medusa. Wherever you are these days, I hope you're in a better place mentally and emotionally. I mean that.
No.
Hey, at least she taught me that a bad situation in the past doesn't have to weigh you down. Because if I'm honest, I'm pretty sure it was my time spent with Medusa that taught me how to stand up to an even worse teacher later on down the line. So, that's the long and short of it, explainers and entertainers. There are more stories that came out of Medusa's theater department, but those are their own videos for another day. Thank you so much for tuning in, but now I gotta tune out. Bye!
This video was good. It was...
If you have
Actually, I really enjoyed
promise me, I would rather
Becca was her name, right?
leave the
Becca.
room
She was